Students, we shall discuss the hybridization and the shape of interhalogen compounds. What are interhalogen compounds? It is a compound formed between two different halogens. We know halogens are fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine. The electronegativity decreases, the electropositivity increases. Therefore, there could be a reaction between chlorine and fluorine. A chlorine and fluorine can give rise to two compounds, namely ClF and ClF3. Bromine and fluorine can combine together to form bromine BrF, BrF3 and BrF5, three compounds. Iodine and fluorine can combine together, to form four different compounds: IF, IF3, IF5 and IF7. IF7 is formed only with iodine, not with bromine. Bromine does not form BrF7. Chlorine cannot form because of the steric factor. Iodine being a very big halogen atom, it can accommodate 7 fluorine atoms. Bromine can accommodate maximum 5 fluorine atoms. Chlorine can accommodate maximum 3 fluorine atoms. It cannot form ClF7. And obviously, if there could be, we saw the reaction between these two and these two. There could be a reaction between these two. There could be a reaction between these two. Again, there could be a reaction between these two. When chlorine and bromine can combine together, it can form BrCl and BrCl3. Iodine and bromine can combine together to form IBr3 only. It cannot form IBr5. So, my dear students, these compounds are called interhalogen compounds. Now, the interhalogen compounds can also be represented by X dash X or X dash X3, X dash X5, X dash X. X dash and X are different halogens, and X dash is electropositive halogen and X is going to be electronegative halogen. Therefore, you see here we have put the more electronegative halogen atoms on the right hand side. It should behave as a anionic species here. This is going to be electropositive, this is electropositive and electronegative. Now, we shall see, my dear students, the shape and the hybridization of these molecules. Let me take, of course, X dash or X dash X has to be a linear molecule. It should be a linear molecule because any 2 points joined together must form a straight line. It should form a straight line. Now, we shall see the X dash X3 molecule. It could be ClF3 or BrF3 or it could be IF3 or IBr3. Let me take ClF3, an example ClF3. Chlorine has got 7 electrons in the outermost shell. Therefore, there are going to be 3 bond pairs. So, I have made use of 3 electrons of chlorine and these are the electrons of fluorine, and of the 7 I have made use of 3 electrons are used in the bond formation. The other 2 pairs of an electron, 4 electrons are going to remain as the lone pair here. Therefore, this particular molecule has got 2 lone pair and 3 bond pairs. Therefore, it is going to be 5 pairs of an electron. So, this belongs to Ab3L2 molecule. Ab3L2 molecule. Now, whenever you have 5 pairs of an electron, it should be trigonal bipyramid. It should be a trigonal bipyramid. This is going to be a trigonal bipyramid. I told you this is going to be an axial bond here, and these are called equatorial bonds. This is called equatorial bond and that is called an axial bond here. And I am going to put chlorine in the center and fluorine. Now, I have got different options of putting the lone pair here. Now, what are those different options? Let us see. Now, in one case, ClF3, this is trigonal bipyramid. Let me put those two lone pairs in the axial position as far away as possible. Therefore, minimum repulsion between the lone pair and the lone pair, and I have no other option but to put fluorine in the equatorial position. This could be one structure. The other structure, I could have put one lone pair here and along the axial position, or I could have put either in the top or the bottom. Both of them are going to be the same. I could have put the lone pair at the top or the bottom. It's an axial. The other lone pair could be here. And the other three fluorine atoms, one fluorine here, the second fluorine here forms a bond, third fluorine here. Now, what is the third option here? I could have put both the lone pairs along the equatorial bonds, and fluorine here, fluorine here, fluorine here. You see here, it's very simple. Both the lone pairs along the axial bond, one lone pair axial bond and one lone pair on the equatorial bond, and both the lone pairs along the equatorial bonds here. Now, only one of these three structures should be stable, the other two must be unstable. Let us see. That is decided by which has got the maximum lone pair repulsion or maximum lone pair bond pair repulsion. Maximum lone pair. Now, if you say the lone pair repulsion is going to be least. The lone pair it is 90, isn't it? I can take this and keep this perpendicular to that. The axial bond is perpendicular to the trigonal plane R. Therefore, this is going to be the maximum repulsion. Obviously, I am going to rule out this. This is going to be ruled out. Maximum repulsion between the lone pair and the lone pair repulsion has got 90 degree repulsion. 90 degree. Therefore, most unstable. Any other angle other than 90 is stable. The bond angle between the lone pair and bond pair is going to be, lone pair repulsion is going to be 120. Definitely it is much less. And at 120 there is no repulsion. Therefore, this can be taken. And obviously, this is going to be 180. Repulsion is going to be. So, there is no repulsion at 120, no repulsion this. One of these two structures. Of these two structures, now we have to discuss the lone pair bond pair repulsion, my dear students. Now, you see here, this is perpendicular. All the three fluorine atoms along the triangle in this plane R, and this is an axial here. The bond angle is going to be 90. The bond angle is going to be 90. The bond angle is going to be 90. So, there are three lone pair bond pair repulsion for this lone pair, and again there are three lone pair bond pair. Isn't it 90 here? This is 90 here. This is going to be 90 here. So, 3 plus 3, 6 lone pair bond pair repulsions at 90 degree repulsion. This is 90 degree repulsion. Now, let us calculate how many lone pair bond pair repulsion here. Now, you see here, there is no repulsion because it is 120, and there is no repulsion between the bond pair and lone pair here because it is 120. Again, this is going to be 120. This bond pair and the lone pair has no repulsion. This bond pair and the lone pair no repulsion here. If at all there is going to be repulsion between the bond pair and lone pair, this is 90 and this is going to be 90. This is going to be 90. You see here, this is going to be one corner. You just imagine a triangle here, and this is going to be 90 here, and this is going to be 90. Therefore, there are two lone pair bond pair 90 degree repulsion between this, and two lone pair. This also is 90. For this also it is going to be 90. 2 plus 2, 4 lone pair bond pair 90 degree repulsion. 90 degree repulsion. And how many repulsions are there? 90 degree repulsion. There are going to be 6 lone pair bond pair, which is going to be less stable. Obviously, this is going to be less stable. So, ultimately, we have decided this particular structure. Now, therefore, what is the hybridization? Hybridization is trigonal. trigonal bipyramid. Now, the shape of the molecule. The shape of the molecule, we have to consider the chlorine. Let me tilt this molecule this way. I will put this fluorine here, this fluorine here. See here, I have not indicated the lone pair here, and therefore, this is called a T-shaped molecule. This is called a T-shaped molecule, ClF3. Now, the bond angle definitely is not going to be 180. It is going to be slightly less than 180. How? You see here, there is the lone pair here. Let me visualize the lone pair here. Let me visualize the lone pair here. And there is going to be lone pair repulsion. Because of this, the 180 is going to come closer. Therefore, it is going to be slightly less than 180. Since it is going to be slightly less than 180 here, this is also indicated as a bent T molecule, T-shaped. Bent T-shaped. You see here, this is going to be, we have to propose different possibilities, and based on the lone pair repulsion, lone pair bond pair repulsion, we have removed these two structures, and we have taken this particular structure which has got the least repulsion here, and from this we are going to propose the shape here. This is generally called T-shaped here, but strictly speaking, all the three atoms are not going to be the same line. Because of the lone pair repulsion, it slightly comes down. Therefore, it is going to be less than 180. This is called bent T-shaped molecule. Students, after having seen XX3 or X dash X3, I told you this is called bent T-shaped molecule. Bent T-shaped molecule. Now, we shall see X5, X dash X5. An example could be IF5, or it could be BRFI. It's possible. Let us take iodine. Since it has to form 5 bonds, there should be 5 bond pairs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the lone pair. Now, so in this case, there are 5 bond pairs and 1 lone pair. So, 6 pairs of an electron, and 6 pairs of an electron, we are going to propose octahedral shape. Octahedral shape. You see here iodine here. Let us try to, I told you in octahedral there is no question of equatorial or axial, and let me put the lone pair here in this and fluorine other 5 corners. So, as far as the hybridization is concerned, it is an octahedral hybridization. Octahedral hybridization is also known as D2sp3 hybridization. You see here 3 plus 1 plus 2, 6 corners. And as far as the shape is concerned, I do not include the lone pair here. So, what is the shape you are going to visualize now? You tell me. The shape that you are going to visualize is going to be a fluorine here and iodine here, iodine in the center of the octahedron, and the other corners fluorine. Now, if you join them, you see here, I am not going to get a prism. This is called square prism. This is called square prism, and that is the shape of IF5, square prism. And as usual, what should be the bond angle between any two adjacent fluorine atom? 90. What is going to be the bond angle between the diagonally opposite fluorine atom? It is going to be 180. There are 2 bond angles here. So, the hybridization, the shape is going to be different. But in the case of IF7, what is this example? X dash X7 molecule. All of them are bond pairs. So, there are going to be 7 bond pairs and 0 lone pair, therefore, 7 pairs of an electron and 7 pairs of an electron. Now, how do we visualize this? This is going to be iodine in the center and all the 7 corners I put fluorine here. And what is this molecule? Pentagonal there is going to be a pentagonal pyramid and a pentagonal bipyramid. Therefore, this could be pentagonal bipyramid. Pentagonal bipyramid. Hybridization is also pentagonal bipyramid and the shape is also pentagonal bipyramid. Now, what is more important here is the bond angle. Can you visualize the different bond angles here between any 2 fluorine atoms? Let us see. The bond angle between this fluorine and this fluorine, please listen. The bond angle between this fluorine and this fluorine is going to be 180. The bond angle between this fluorine and all the 5 fluorine atoms on the same plane. As usual, we have an axial bond and these are called equatorial bond. Since it is perpendicular, the bond angle between this fluorine, axial fluorine and any one of the equatorial fluorine, or the bond angle between the axial fluorine and any one of them is going to be 90. Okay. What should be the bond angle between the adjacent fluorine atom along the planar? So, there are going to be how many atoms here? 5 atoms. What should be the total bond angle? 360. Therefore, 360 divided by 5 and that should give you 72 degrees. This is going to be 72. Is that all? See here, you have got one more. Alternate. The bond angle between these two is 72. The bond angle between these two is 72. So, the bond angle between these two alternative fluorine, it is going to be 2 into 72, 144. Therefore, the different bond angles in the increasing order, it should be 72, 90, 144 and 180. That is one repeatedly asked question regarding this. As I told you, since there is no bond pair here, the hybridization and the shape of the molecule are going to be the same. Students, we shall see compounds of xenon. Xenon is an inert element. Normally, it is not expected to be reactive, not expected to be not expected to form compounds. But helium, when you look at the group, we have neon, we have argon, we have krypton and xenon. When you go down a group of a periodic table, ionization enthalpy decreases. Ionization enthalpy decreases. Now, what is this ionization enthalpy? Ability to remove an electron. Energy required to remove outermost electron to form an ion. Because it is going to be far away from the nucleus, the electron could be removed. And because of that, xenon forms a few compounds. There are a few compounds that are already known. Krypton also forms a very few compounds, but we do not have compounds in the case of neon and helium and neon and argon. Argon also there could be 1 or 2 exceptions, but definitely helium and neon do not form compounds at all because they have got very high ionization enthalpy. Now, when let us look at the compounds of xenon. Whenever xenon reacts, you see here there is a coincidence that xenon reacts only with oxygen and fluorine in the entire periodic table. It forms the oxides. Xenon with fluorine, it forms the fluorides. Xenon does not react with other elements in the periodic table. Now, what is the characteristic of fluorine and oxygen? They are highly electronegative elements. Therefore, that excitation of electrons is possible only with highly electronegative elements, and that too because of low ionization enthalpy, and fluorine or oxygen happen to be highly electronegative. Now we shall see a few examples of fluorides of xenon. The fluorides of xenon, we have XeF2, XeF4, XeF6, and theoretically one can write XeF8, but this is not possible, does not exist. It does not exist because its steric factor. Xenon cannot accommodate 8 fluorine atoms, highly sterically hindered. Now you would have noticed one thing here when compared to interhalogen compounds. Interhalogen compounds, they form IF, IF3, IF5 and IF7. IF7. Now iodine, whenever it combines with another halogen atom, it always requires odd number of fluorine atoms, whereas xenon requires even number of fluorine atoms here. That could be a question that could be asked. Now the reason for this, why xenon requires even number of halogen atoms and halogens require odd number of halogen atoms to form interhalogen compounds. Look at this iodine. Iodine has got 7 electrons in the outermost shell. Let us see. Fluorine is going to be, what is the general electronic configuration? NS2, NP5. Therefore, we have fluorine, second period, chlorine, bromine, iodine, second, third, fourth, fifth. Therefore, the electronic configuration should be 5s2, 5p5. So, let us write 5s2, 5p5. And this 5s2, 5p5 has only one unpaired electron, one unpaired electron. And this one unpaired electron can require only one fluorine atom to form IF. Therefore, that is the ground state configuration. With a ground state configuration, there is only one unpaired electron, therefore it combines. Now, if iodine were to form IF3, I cannot make use of ground state configuration because the ground state configuration has got only unpaired electron. I need to have 3 single electron for the 3 fluorine atoms to combine. Therefore, what should I do? How many electrons do I have in the d orbital in the ground state? No electron. Therefore, what happens? I have to excite one of the electrons. One of the electrons should be uncoupled and promoted to the vacant orbital. If that gives you the first excited state configuration. So, what should be the structure? 5s2, 5f4, because one of the electrons is promoted over there, it is 5d1. So, totally how many unpaired electrons? There are 2 unpaired electrons plus 1 unpaired electron and 3 unpaired electrons are there. Now, these 3 unpaired electrons can combine with 3 fluorine atoms to form this. Now, if iodine were to form iodine pentafluoride IF5, we know it requires 5 unpaired electrons. Now, what should I do? Again, this has to be excited. We have to supply energy and iodine has to be taken to the second excited state. There is going to be one pair here. That one pair is going to be uncoupled and promoted here. So, if that is taken over here, the electronic configuration is going to be 5s2, 5p3 and 5d2 here. So, totally there are 3 unpaired electrons and 2 unpaired electrons. There are going to be 5 unpaired electrons here, and the 5 unpaired electrons can combine with 5 fluorine atoms to form this. And finally, if iodine were to form, my dear students, IF7, all the 7 electrons should be single electrons. How is it possible? Again it is excited and iodine is taken to the third excited state. What is the third excited state? This is going to be uncoupled and promoted to this. Therefore, I am left with 1 electron, the 5s. I am not supposed to disturb here. I do not want to transfer that here. If it is transferred over here, again the number of electron, unpaired electron will be reduced here. I want to retain the 3 electron and that electron goes to 5d3. You see here there is 1 electron, unpaired electron, 3 unpaired electron and 3 unpaired electron, and it has got 7 unpaired electrons here. Therefore, you see here it can combine with 7 fluorine atoms. Now you understand why iodine requires only odd number of fluorine atoms. Always either in the ground state or excited state, I end up with odd number of electrons, therefore odd number of fluorine. Same way, xenon, what should be the electronic configuration of xenon? Again, helium in the first group, NS2, NP6. NS2, NP6 is going to be the electronic configuration: helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon. The second period, third period, fourth period, fifth period, this is the sixth period. Therefore, the electronic configuration is going to be 6s2, 6p6, ns2, np6. How many unpaired electron? No unpaired electron. Xenon in the ground state cannot combine with fluorine, no reaction, no product, no reaction, because there is no unpaired electron. Students, you should know that the reactivity is due to the number of unpaired electrons, 1 or more unpaired electrons. Now, is it possible for me to, how many electrons the d orbital here? 0 electron. Now, you try to bring it to excited state, xenon excited state. What happened? One of the pairs is uncoupled and promoted over here. Therefore, you end up with 6s2, 6p5 and 6d1. See how many unpaired electrons? 1 plus 1 here, 2 unpaired electrons here. Now, you take it to the second excited state here, second excited state here, second excited state, one more pair electron. Therefore, this is going to be 6s2, 6p4 and 6d2. So, there are 2 unpaired electrons and 2 unpaired electrons, so totally 4 unpaired electrons here. And finally, what happens? This is going to be converted into xenon, the third excited state, one more electrons. Therefore, this is going to be 6s2, 6p3, 6d3, 6d3. So, 3 plus 3, 6 unpaired electrons, 6 unpaired electrons, 6 unpaired. Therefore, this can form xenon difluoride. See here, even number. And if this were to react with fluorine, this can form xenon tetrafluoride, and this can form xenon hexafluoride. Earlier I told you xenon octafluoride is not possible for 2 reasons. One, sterically hindered. Now, my dear students, you see here the energy gap between the 6s orbital and 6d orbital is very high, extremely high. It is possible probably in the earlier case 5d level, but it is not possible in the 6d level. And the 6d level, energy required to uncouple this, promote this. Therefore, it is very, very difficult to have 8 unpaired electron xenon. That is also one reason why xenon does not form xenon octafluoride. Now, you see here, whenever you excite an electron, you always end up with even number of electrons. Therefore, xenon combines with even number of fluorine atoms, xenon F2, XeF4, XeF6, whereas here this is going to be odd number.